As Police Chief Carl Kanisky, my next guest usually finds his hands full on the NBC series Gimme a Break. It's not his city's crime problems that keep him up nights, but it's his outspoken housekeeper, portrayed by Nell Carter, and his 3 daughters. Here is Dolph Sweet. Welcome, my friend. Nice to have you. My first meeting with you.
Yes, it is.
And yet I feel I know you because I've seen that face so often.
That's not a face, feeling? That's a kisser. That's a mug.
You two people have worked together, haven't you?
Yeah.
In what?
We were in the original production of The Sign in Sidney Brewstein's Window.
It was Lorraine Hansberry's last play.
As a matter of fact, she was dying.
She was dying at the time, yeah.
Are you a product of the New York stage? Was that your...
I hope so, yeah. That's where I learned to crawl, then to walk.
I was surprised when I read that how you got interested in acting. I've talked to almost 40,000 people by now, and no one's ever told me a story like that. Tell everybody about where this happened.
Well, I was in the Second World War.
The one that got all the publicity.
Yeah. I remember I stayed in the reserves after the war. And,
you did?
Yeah.
What enticed you to do that? Don't go any further. Holy Toledo, somebody did a selling job on you.
Some colonel was giving a lecture and talking about the war, and in the back, this young second lieutenant raised his hand and said, "Pardon me, sir, but which war is that?" And meanwhile, the Korean War and the Vietnam War. No, I had wanted to be a physicist before the war, and I was in the Air Force, and we got shot down coming back from the low-level Powesty raid. And I wound up in a prison camp in Germany, about 90 miles southeast of Berlin. I don't know if you've ever seen the picture, The Great Escape, with James Garner and Steve McQueen.
Yeah.
That was the camp at which that took place. And we had all the, it was composed entirely of Allied Air Force officers, the British, the Americans, and some Polish and Free French and so on. Well, the British started putting on plays for the camp. The Americans felt that, well, they could do as well as the British, you know. And
you mean? Really?
Yeah, and so somebody asked me to be in a one-act play, and...
had you ever done anything like that?
Never had done anything
Listen,
like
he probably said, I have nothing else to do.
And when I was in the 4th grade, they cast me as Santa Claus, but I was so terrified I got sick. And
physically,
right. And that was it. But when I experienced that, I thought, gee, this is for me.
What was the play? What was the play? Do you remember?
It was The Monkey's Paw.
Oh,
that one act
play? Yeah.
I played the mother.
You played the mother? Well, of course, you're in a camp.
Do you feel a little bit like father around those 3 girls on that show?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes I feel I have to defend myself.
You're outnumbered,
yeah,
huh?
Outnumbered. 4 women and 1 man.
How about Nell Carter? It seems as though you two are so different as you seem on camera. Is that true?
We are very different in personality. Yeah, she's very vivacious and somewhat unpredictable.
I think he just said worlds there.
Yeah, he did indeed.
I'm a compulsive controller, you know, and I don't usually show my emotions. I find it difficult sometimes. Anyway, we do have very different personalities, but we seem to get along very well. I mean, off stage as well as on.
That means a lot if a show's a success. 9 times out of 10, when you run into people who are part of a successful show, they invariably say it's like a family over there. Everybody gets along beautifully. I think when actors know that they're onto something and they've got a winner going, you know, they all say, hey, I think I'll just behave myself and ride this thing out, because you don't run into too many of those situations.
You sure
in your
don't.
career.
Well, I didn't want to do a series, and I don't know how Nell felt, but it was somewhat unusual, I guess. Fred Silverman had seen me in something I'd done, and apparently he wanted a series for me, and then he also wanted a series for Nell, and somebody got the idea of putting us together.
Not bad.
Well, I wanted to play at this time in my life a sardonic, non-smiling character, because it was the way I felt. And I didn't want to be fit into any framework. So we discussed the whole thing, and Nell and I met, and it seemed to be a good thing, yeah. She would be the vivacious one trying to outsmart me, and I would be the sardonic, sour, respondent, you know.
We have a clip, coincidentally, from Give Me a Break. Now, do I have to talk about this, or can we just run it and then talk about it?
Let's run it. And
Is this from an upcoming
I don't know what you've
upcoming
got,
show?
yeah.
Upcoming show. Give Me a Break, NBC, starring my guest.
What?
We'll all be back with romance novelist Danielle Steele right after this.